Hello everyone and welcome to the Animezillia, and thank you for joining me as we talk about chapter 113 to 129 of the Tower of God webtoon series. Now normally when I do these reviews I do at least cover or try to cover 2 or 3 arcs. However, the Revolution Road arc is a massive one, so I decided to split this into 2 separate parts. So this is part 1. That being said, however, there is still lots to talk about, so sit back, relax as I give you my thoughts on the events that occur as we go through chapter by chapter. Starting things off, I want to talk about Princess Yuri and the actions that were displayed from her character, showing off more of her combat skills in her taking on the royal army and guards, as well as her sisterly bond gets displayed between herself and Lady Rupelista. The two obviously are very close because they know about each other's involvements with Ulrich Maisonneuve, which, if you remember, Ulrich Maisonneuve is said to be kind of against the whole system that the 10 great households and the Prince of Jahad is kind of orchestrated in the background. So the fact that these two sisters know about each other's involvements and know about Ulrich Maisonneuve on a personal level means that they are very close. Because I wouldn't imagine that Yuri would be very open with that information to her other sisters that wasn't so friendly towards her. Now this is also where we learn about what happened to the baby Zargina that Ulrich Maisonneuve took off with back in the beginning of Season 2. Plus, Yuri also learns that Bam is still alive and is heading towards Hell's Train, which means that Yuri has to get on the train herself in order to go visit him. But throughout this whole kind of conversation and this whole kind of plot thread, there were 2 key elements that I found really interesting. Number 1, the conversation between Evan and the butler. Now this seems that Rupelista and the butler seem to have an ulterior motive based on their dialogue and what they're saying. Now this is just me speculating on the small amount of information that I know as of reading the first 19 chapters of this arc, but maybe that item that was stated to be left on the Hell's Train by that proclaimed Slayer nominee way back when the events occurred, because one of Bam's teammates said that he was on the train with a Slayer nominee that left something there and it would later return for that item. Maybe Rupelista and the butler want that. Maybe they got some ties in with Fook, which would be quite interesting, but I've got no kind of reason to speculate that at the moment. However, it could be something else. It could be related to a character, maybe the prince that was teased to return way back at the start of Season 2. Now, before I get to my second point, I do just want to add on to the whole conversation aspect. We get a conversation between Evan and Yuri in where they're talking and speculating about the test floor that Bam went missing on being kind of orchestrated by Hong Seung-yu in having Ren of the Assassination Division basically stall and keep Yuri occupied so that Hong Seung-yu can perform his thug-like actions and hide and cover up the fact they wanted to make Bam disappear. This I absolutely loved because I can so see Hong Seung-yu doing something like this. It fits perfectly into his character and goes along with this agenda that he would do anything to make sure that his goals and ambitions and mission is a success, even if that means risking someone of high stature as Ren or Assassination Squad. I don't really know what that would be. Or, you know, trying to stall a princess and trying to make a mockery of a Princess of Jahad in that sort of fashion. So yeah, honestly, if we see Hong Seung-yu return, I think that'd be brilliant. I want to see him return. Maybe we'll see him on the train in like trying to bring Bam back into the Violet category and back to working for Fook. Who knows, but it'll be pretty cool. Back to my other points. Nevertheless though, I do find it a little bit sketchy in the dialogue that they were saying. The second thing that caught my attention was the royal guards themselves. Now, it's stated that they were meant to retreat or kind of move away if Yuri did state them to do so. However, that never happened. So, could Rupelista be controlling them through her video games? Because we did see her playing a game like Battle Simulator type of thing before the events took place. So this little segment between princesses was short, sweet, but filled with a lot of great action, fabulous, beautiful artwork, and some interesting text that helped keep us interested and involved in the characters that were all present. Now let me ask you a question. Did you think that Yuri was the famous blue idol that appeared at the end with the picture of Bam and the train ticket? Honestly, I didn't. Simply put, because it would have been too obvious, and I feel like the series is a lot more smartly written than teasing that Yuri had to get onto a train by a certain method and then showing us a character that may or possibly look like her, just with blue hair and has a photo, because how would she have got the up-to-date photo of Bam? But speaking of this character, I really did like her introduction. She was this sweet, charming, charismatic character with a lot of crazy. And I mean, a lot of crazy. As someone who met Rachel through the Amelia app, being that she is now tied with Foog, also being a well-known and loved figure within the idol community, while also being a member of the Ha family, which is one of the 10 great families within the tower. Ha-Yura being this character that brought an unsettling feeling to the series when facing off against Bam, showing us as the reader just a small glimpse of what Bam could have been like back in Season 1 if he was a bit more crazy or aggressive. As way back in Season 1, Bam was following after Rachel, being that Rachel was Bam's only friend and only thing that he cared about in the world. Now, in present time, Yura is showing the same level of desperation as Bam did in Season 1 by being that she wants to be with Rachel, except Ha-Yura is being a lot more brutal thanks to this promise that was made by Rachel saying that they can meet if she did this specific request of her. An example of how extreme this character was the fact that when they were playing the tournament game, she threw the yellow ball-like creature to the lady with the pink hair. And this, of course, extreme pain and brutality to this character's hands. This can also be seen as Ha-Yura being like this dead serious character that keeps her promise to Rachel at any cost, even if it means giving up her idol status by ruining any chance of returning to that kind of limelight, because she's willingly open to hurting a fan and admits it doesn't matter if she kills off or harms one of her fans because she has plenty more. Plus, we get this really short flashback with Yuha being this little girl crying, saying that she doesn't need all this fancy stuff, and what she really wants is ... Now, we don't get confirmed or told what that is, but as a good guess, I would say friends. As is often the case in anime and other kind of genres and tropes, where a character has so much fame and so much fortune, but they don't have any friends that are trustworthy that they can share and be honest and open with. Now, we know that Rachel wants to be the main star of the show. She wants to be the main heroine. But in Yuha's eyes, Rachel would see her as being underneath her because of Rachel's kind of complex and the way she thinks about herself. So, in a weird sense and in like a desperate person's mind, Yura might think that it's likely that she could have a real friend in Rachel. Now, that might not make a lot of sense by the way I've proclaimed it, but at the same time, you can kind of see the similarities between both Yuha and Bam's character, because they both had no friends. If is indeed the fact that this idol wants friends, both started with no friends. Their first friend, or real friend, was Rachel. Both want to go after Rachel and be with Rachel, except this character, who's the idol, is trying to prevent any harm coming to Rachel, and that harm, of course, is going to be Bam. Honestly, I really like this character, because she's really interesting, and hopefully we see more of her throughout the Hell's Train sort of arc or story. As she's constantly trying to stop Bam from reaching Rachel, I think that'll be quite a cool dynamic. Plus, we all want to see Yuha and Rachel meeting up and just see the moment where Rachel is like, yes, we're friends, and then pushes her off the train while it's moving. I mean, that's gotta happen, surely. You can't trust Rachel, and yet this character is going to do so willingly and under the assumption that there are genuine, trustworthy friends. That's just obviously speculation on whether or not this character wants friends. She might not, but I think it's kind of safe to say yes. And again, we see similarities if that's the case between her and Bam, but they both had different methods of trying to do what they're trying to do. Oh, and the suitcase that she carries around is a C-grade weapon that is from the workshop, allowing her to kind of block enemy Shinzu control completely. And the other two functions of it are yet unknown as of now, but they have good kind of abilities that are similar to the Shinzo negation technique that she already explained to us. So hopefully we see a bit more on that, make that elaborated a bit better. Now it is time to talk about Bam. This arc is really trying to show Bam in a more cruel light, being that he's been told to make teammates that he can easily dispose of / not care about, which kind of contradicts Bam's personality. But bless him for trying, honestly. He is trying. Calling one of his new teammates Mr. Pig instead of using his proper name, showing obviously disrespect, trying not to become too close. He's also keeping his distance from them by excluding himself from the conversation and going to his room back when they're inside their residency area. But one action that really stands out to me the most was when he's willing to pursue the idea of the bet that kind of puts the tickets on the line between himself and Yura, because he sees a teammate get completely mangled and brutalized with a hand injury and forcing his teammates to have sufferable injuries. However, even after all that, he's still like, no, I'm going to press through. I need to focus on what I want. I need to narrow down on what I want, and my teammates' conditions and risk for my teammates doesn't really count. So I see what they're trying to do here, and it makes a bit more sense because, yes, he has got teammates he wants to protect, but he also needs some that he can kind of dispose of and just use in general, giving us a little bit more of an insight to a darker side of Bam's character. Plus, I like the fact that Bam doesn't have a lot of presence within this arc from the beginning stages, and that's pretty good because it gives showcase to other characters. However, when it does showcase his characters, it shows that his growth and his attempt at development is still very much the main focus of the series. I say attempt at development because, like I said, I mentioned the fact is they're trying to make him a bit more crueler and not care about his new teammates, yet he still kind of fails in that regard because he goes to save the pink-headed lady on his team, you know, before she gets completely destroyed. So again, he's showing that he does not have the ability to sacrifice someone else for his personal gain just yet. So we're still needing to work on that regard of Bam's character. Honestly speaking, I don't want to see him at that point where he'll easily sacrifice people, because something really, really bad will have to happen to him, and I feel like the worst things have possibly already happened to Bam. Then again, this is just a series that keeps improving and keeps blowing my mind out of the water, so whatever they go with, I'm sure it'll be excellent. However, it also turns out that he does need a portion of the needle's power when fighting Yuha, because it's stated that he's used it. So was his training not fruitful within that year time gap? And what happened to Bam when he went away on a mission or task that Rax mentioned? Because Rax states that he used to be back to his normal self back when we found him. But now, after he came back from that place, he seems different. So hopefully they expand on that again. But like I said, I haven't read all of the arc yet, so they're probably going to expand on it soon. So let's see what happens. Now I love the development on Showcase for Rand's character, showing us that not only is his growth in combat prevalent, but also his skills as a leader is actually improving. He thinks about wanting to kind of defeat the Guardian on his own as quick as possible, but also the fact is that he's also considerate of his teammates in their condition so that they can conserve their energy and strength for the tournament ahead, because they know that's one of their tasks to complete. Now, one thing I thought was a little bit odd though was when he took the lightning pill, he had 2 circles on his face, where in the tournament he only had 1. So that is something that is a little bit intriguing and hopefully gets expanded on a bit more as we move forward. Did he take 2 pills, or is his ability to use it for longer actually increasing? As in becoming more compatible with it. Now, again, we've seen a lot of development in his combat skills and in his leadership skills. This is all well and good, but the series does make it clear that Rand still needs to improve in other areas, much like his Shinzu resistance, as he falls prey to a technique by an enemy in being able to freeze his moments, like Bam does, which he learned from Quinn. That technique. So, instead of just relying on pure power alone, he needs to kind of also learn new techniques and new kind of avenues and be a bit more tactful and thinking about what his opponents are going to do next. So he needs to be a bit more of a smarter competitor. Not saying that he's not smart, but that's another area where we need to see Rand improve and how he can develop in the future. The only thing I didn't like about Rand's team involvement throughout this arc so far was the other members really didn't get much time to shine. However, like I said, I haven't finished this arc yet, so hopefully, we'll get to see more of a showcasing from Rand's teammates instead of just Rand himself. And as a side note, I really, really, really do not like the new design for Beta. Hashtag give back the suit. I found it slightly ironic how Rachel's team had an angel on it. Even with a halo and wings, I don't know, just kind of found it funny. But the character of Daniel Hatchett was so fun to see. The amount of power that he's able to wield is incredible. The comedic element that he brings to the arc was also really enjoyable and made me laugh a lot. I liked the kind of the remote gimmick that he had, and yet he just wanted to flex his power and show off to us as the reader and to his teammates that he's just incredibly strong. And yet, just at the end, it's like, whoop, just turned it off. Had the remote, great. But one thing I thought was really surprising was the line where he shouts saying that he's back. He plays it off as a bit of a lie, however, I think that it's not a lie. I think that he's actually telling the truth that he is back. Because I wouldn't be surprised if he turns out to be one of the remaining 5 people from Bam's teammate story that we get told that way back when there was a Slayer nominee on the Hell Train, there was also 5 people that survived just barely. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being one of them, because he's insanely strong. I think he's quite old as well, because people keep referring to him as being an old man. So yeah, honestly, I'm waiting to see more of his character, so hopefully we get more juicy details on that. Overall, a really good start to the Hell Train arc that looks to be going in the right direction and can only improve moving forward once the train gets rolling completely. And Team Coon finally arrives, hopefully within the next few chapters. A few rivalries are slowly being built up, and I can't wait to see how Yuri makes it onto the train. We know she's going to, but we don't know how just yet. I thought the pacing wasn't too bad at the moment. It's going quite nicely, trying to fit in a lot of information though in this jam-packed arc, but it still flows quite nicely, and the art style is incredible. So nothing is being kind of lost thanks to the amount of content and context they're trying to squeeze into each and every chapter. So what are your thoughts on these chapters that I've covered in this video up to this point so far from the Revolutionary Road arc? I know it's a bit awkward discussing only half an arc, but hopefully you still found this enjoyable and some of the points that I've made as well. If you have, turn that like button, Shinzu blue or white, depending on if you're using dark mode or light mode, and subscribe for more Tower of God content in the next coming weeks. Now next week I will be either finishing off this arc or going through the characters from season 1 of the anime and webtoon series of the Tower of God and giving them a little bit of a ranking from my thoughts and perspective on how well I thought they did and showcased in season 1 of the series. Overall though, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day, alligator matane, goodbye.